Welcome back to Legends Live. Now, what you just saw is the promo video for the new Legends Care program. That's the Legends HBCU Scholarship for undergraduates attending HBCUs across the country. Now, the deadline for that is next Friday, May 14th, next Friday. So you want to make sure that you have your application in by then. And you can find out more about that at legendsofbasketball.com/HBCU. Again, legendsofbasketball.com/HBCU. Now, welcome to Legends Live, as presented by the National Basketball Retired Players Association. As you know, the home of all our NBA and WNBA legends. I'd like to remind you that you can submit questions during the show that we will answer before we wrap up. And without any further ado, I'd like to welcome in today's guest. We have former member of the Seattle Storm and the Canberra Capitals. Over her WNBA and WNBL career, she is and bear with me here, a 12-time All-Star, 7-time MVP, 5-time Finals MVP, 3-time scoring champion, Defensive Player of the Year, and she also has 4 Olympic medals.
Hi, how you going?
I'm doing good. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. There's a massive time difference, so it's really cool to be here.
Yeah. What time is it in Australia where you're at?
It's currently 9:06 a.m.
Okay, so we're I guess good morning. I should
right.
say. So first things first, how are you? I'd always like to know how our legends are doing. Like how are things?
Yeah, really good. Just I'm a mum of 2 little boys now, and I'm loving it. Working, with Basketball Australia, so still in basketball. I think I'll be in basketball for the rest of my life. There's no doubt. But yeah, just doing the things that I love. And I have to say, I think being a mum is just the best thing that I've ever, sort of been through. So life's good.
That's good to hear. Now, your role with Basketball Australia, what's that look like for you?
So basically, I'm the head of the Women's National Basketball League here in Australia. So just running the WNBL here, and I guess trying to lift its profile, the professionalism, and standards for the athletes. It's we've been running for 41 seasons now, so coming to our 42nd year. But women's sports definitely taken off in Australia, but our sport's sort of not where it should be. So we're definitely doing a lot to try and push it forward. And there's a few challenges, but I think just one step, one foot in front of the other, and you just got to keep moving forward.
Definitely. Now I gotta say, when I looked you up, there's a little AO by your name. What does that mean?
It's the Order of Australia, so it's like a thing that you get from like the Queen, basically.
Okay. Just something you get from nothing major, just something you get from the Queen.
Well, I didn't get it from her personally, but it's it's like an honor.
Okay.
So, basically, I think for my career and what I was able to achieve in the sport. So again, like basketball's offered me so many privileges, and I feel so honored to have been able to compete at such a high level and do the things that I was able to do. So I'm forever grateful to the sport.
Now, you retired in 2016, so a little over 5 years now. So how's retirement treating you? You mentioned motherhood, doing some work with Australian basketball, but just in general, how's retirement treating you?
Look, it's been good. Officially, I retired in 2016, but I finished in the WNBA in 2012, and it was because of injury. So I hurt myself over in China, my knee, and I just never recovered from it. I had about 15 operations trying to get back for about 3 years. And then in 2016, I tore my ACL again, and then I got a staph infection in my knee, and it was like, right, it's I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so by that point, like after 3 years of really just pushing myself to come back, and the surgeries and everything that comes along with that, I just sort of said, I can't do it. And I was in such a bad place, like mentally and physically. So retirement was a welcome relief when it finally came along, and I was able to sort of pick up the pieces and start focusing forward on, where my life is going to go now. So it was a bit of a journey there, like heading into retirement. But once I sort of realized, right, there's a life outside of the sport for me. I've got to go and find myself in that life, and life has been great. I've really tried to upskill as quickly as possible, put myself through university because we don't have college, over here. So I went pro from 18, so I didn't have sort of education to fall back on. So I made sure I went and got my bachelor's degree, and then I started doing postgraduate work in my MBA.
Okay.
And then basically any opportunity that came up for me to upskill, whether it was in government or like public or private, I did. And yeah, then I landed this great job with Basketball Australia, and hopefully this is where I stay.
All right. You mentioned you started playing professionally at 18. What was that like? Like just going right into professionally?
Well, actually, I left home when I was 15 to play at the Australian Institute of Sport. So it's a little bit different here because we don't have the population that America has. So pretty much they pick the most talented 12 to 15 kids in Australia, and they put them in this sort of dormitory style living in Canberra. And you go there from, 15. So I was there for 2 years, and we played in the Women's National Basketball League at that point. So our first season or two, we were just smashed by 50 points each game, and it was just some learning.
Some growing pains.
Yeah, but we ended up winning the championship in our final year when we were like 17, 18 years old, which was never happened before, never happened again. But, we had players like Penny Taylor, Susie Bakovic, Kristen Veal, like all players, Belinda Snell that have played in the WNBA. So we had like a really great crop of athletes that came through at the same point. So we played professional. We played against women's teams at that point.
Like adult women's teams.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And I'd also been selected in the Australian national team at that point. So I'd played at a world championship, and I was heading into 2000 Olympics as well. So I was sort of ready, to make that next step into the WNBA.
Right. Now, both of your parents played professionally. Is that correct?
Well, as professional as it could be for them. Dad played for Australia in the 70s, and my mum was actually captain of the Australian team, and I think she was like the second woman to go and play in college. She played at LSU, and still holds records at LSU for scoring and rebounding. And yeah, it was actually funny because there was an ESPN article about the best athletes at their number. And mum, because she only played 2 years at LSU, but they went to Final Four that year. I think even championship game, but lost. But she played 2 seasons, and just she had a blast. She loved it. So yeah, mum was a bit of a pioneer.
Okay. Now, how old were you when you started winning one-on-one first? I guess either mom or dad.
Oh, look, they'll tell you they still beat me, but they don't. Look, I can tell you that I thought I was sort of 8 or 9 when I started winning, I reckon. But no,
so early.
No, I reckon probably about maybe 13 or 14. Yeah.
Okay, so that's about right before you went off to, is it the Institute?
Yeah. So I was a bit of a softy too. I think because I was really lucky because I had, a mum and a dad who were from basketball, and they were like, you can be anything you want to be. Whereas at that time in Australia, there wasn't like a pathway for female athletes.
Right.
And I was always like, I'm going to go and play in the NBA. I'm going to be the first woman in the NBA and do all this stuff. And they never said, no, you couldn't do that. And because I was a daughter of basketball players, I was always like, that's who I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to do. And I never thought I was going to be anything else.
Right.
And so, yeah, I was really lucky in that sense. But I thought I was a lot better than what I actually was. And it wasn't until a few reality checks set in and, that I started toughening up a little bit. I was a little bit soft early on.
Now, you mentioned you won the championship there when you were 17 or 18. You were making all-star teams like before the WNBA. So I guess when did you know that you like even wanted to make that leap? Because you could have, stayed in the WNBL and kept winning championships. Yeah,
look, I suppose I always thought I was going to be like a decent player. I knew that I was going to be some level pretty good. But I was also I'm a country kid. I grew up in Albury. I didn't want to leave home. I never wanted to leave Australia. I never wanted to, I'm a comfort person. I love being comfortable. and with people I love. So making that leap was more an emotional sort of roller coaster for me. I think internally I was really struggling with wanting to be the very best I could be and not wanting to leave my home and my family I loved. So, but once I got over to America, I have to say it was to be the best in whatever you do, you have to go through the best. And America, the WNBA is the best league in the world. They've got the best athletes in the world, no matter what year it is.
Right.
And yeah, I just, like I said before, I'm just so fortunate and, like I said, so privileged that I got the opportunity to go and do it. And now looking back on it, I wouldn't have changed it for the world.
Now, you mentioned, to be the best, you have to go through the best. But what was that transition like going from Australia to you drafted by the Seattle Storm? So what was like off the court? What was that transition like for you?
Well, in Australia, you can start drinking alcohol at 18. In America, it's 21. So that was so I was already, really enjoying a glass of wine by this point.
Sure.
So walking into a bottle shop and being asked for ID was a bit of a, that was different.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah.
But look, it's a different culture. And I think walking into my first training camp, Lynn Dunn was our coach. And I think I was talking about this the other day. The very first drill she had us do was this drill where there was no boundaries. It was just, you go out there and you play. There's no referees. There's no foul calls. Like you just go out there and you fight, right?
Okay.
I grew up in structure and, just
this is brand new to you.
Completely brand new. And people were fighting for positions. They wanted to be on that team so bad. And I've never been in a situation like that. So as an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old, I honestly was like, oh my God, I'm never coming back to training camp again. So it was a massive culture shock initially for me. And then the level of professionalism as well. Like the WNBA was just a whole nother world compared to what I grew up in. And I mean, even to this day, the WNBA, what it's been able to do in terms of how it looks after its athletes and everything it's so incredible. And I think every league in the world is striving to be the same, but it's, it's going to take some time.
It's definitely a journey.
Yeah, it is.
Now, you had played overseas, like Korea, Russia, Spain. What were those adjustments like? Like, which was first? Did you go from America to over there? Did you go from over there and then America? What was the timeline?
Yeah, so I played in the WNBA so I played WNBA and then WNBL in Australia. And then I think about 2006, I decided to, 2005-06, go to South Korea.
Okay.
And you know what? I had the time of my life over there. I made some absolutely awesome friends. My teammates were just so beautiful. And, it was all the Americans that were on other teams. So it was like one foreigner per team. We would meet up in Itaewon after every single game and we would go out. We would have food. We'd, talk. We just, I guess.
Just connect.
And connect. And just made some beautiful friends that, they'll be friends for life, regardless of if we ever speak again. I'll always have such fond memories of South Korea. And then after that, I went to Russia for about a month. And then after that, I signed with Russia for probably 3 years or so in the off season. So I played there with Sue and Diana. And again, it's such a massive culture difference. It's a different world in Eastern Europe. And I really struggled over there emotionally. It was, by the time I'd finished or decided I wasn't going back to Russia, I was pretty much just done. Like I was emotionally checked out, and I had to sort of deal
exhausted, I bet.
Exhausted, but just I couldn't deal with being so far away from home in a culture that was just completely different to my own. And it's freezing cold over there, and there was just no support and what I needed, from my family and stuff. So it was all a learning journey for me, and it all made me stronger. I don't think there's much that could rock me now at all. It's being a professional athlete definitely gives you the sort of foundation that you need in life after sport. There's no doubt it gives you a resilience that not many other people have.
Right. What was the adjustment like on the court over there? Because it's like, basketball is basketball, but it's still, somewhat different rules. Like you said, when you got to Seattle, you were doing drills you had never done before. So what was that adjustment like in Korea, in Russia?
Well, in Korea, when I got over there, I just was determined to be the fittest that I could ever be. I was in a place where nobody spoke the same language. There was one foreigner per team, and I just decided that that's where I was just going to dominate, and I did. I played some of the best basketball I'd ever played over there, and I really had the time of my life. And then in Russia, it was so much different. I don't know. I really, really struggled over there, and I don't know. Just the environment. But I mean, look, we still won 3 championships. We had some of the best players in the world on that team. And, but yeah, man, there was some times like when Shabtai, he was the owner of the team. He'd have we'd be walking in the mall or going shopping or something. And, he'd have someone tailing us just to make sure we were safe. And there were times that were just really unnerving. That we sort of saw happen. Just for me, it really sort of set me off.
Yeah, I can see how that would set anybody off. Yeah.
So I definitely struggled a little bit more than the others did, I think.
Yeah. Now jumping back to the WNBA, like your style on the court, you as a power forward, center, a big, you always shot the 3. Like, was that something that was stress to you growing up? Was that just kind of part of your game, or?
Look, I think my mum always, because she was a big, so she was a center, but she had a really beautiful shot. So growing up, she'd always said to me, just learn how to shoot, just learn, just make sure you've got a jump shot. And my dad had a beautiful jump shot. She always says she fell in love with his jump shot. So they had me, just making sure that I worked on, inside outside skills. Right. So as a youngster, I sort of developed them pretty early. And then, again, I sort of grew up in a traditional basketball. Well, look, they were still teaching me to go inside and pushing me inside. But I think when they realized that I could shoot, it was like, all right, well, we'll let her take this one or 2.
Right.
Or 3. Okay. So, and then when I got to the WNBA, I think it was a real asset just having that. Yeah. And then it wasn't until Anne Donovan became our coach, and she really pushed me to get inside and worked with me on my inside game, that I think things started really coming together for me.
I feel like we hear now it's somewhat backwards. I feel like it's a lot of, they stress the inside, then you work on the outside later. So it's interesting to hear you say that was kind of, I guess not even stress, but just encouraged for you to work on the outside as well as the inside.
Well, I think my body, because my body hadn't fully developed at that stage. So I was really long and skinny, and there's just no way, especially when I first came into the league, I really struggled inside against some of the bodies. Some of the girls were so strong, and that I didn't have it. Right. And it wasn't until I sort of got a little bit older and really made an effort to bulk up that I sort of gained that strength, and I was able to, I guess, use my strength inside. I just didn't have it earlier.
Yeah. Now, the way the game is moving, I feel like the men and the women's game, it's, higher pace, more 3s are being shot, more bigs are shooting 3s. Like, what do you think? Like, is that a style of play you would like to play it in? Or I know some of the legends are like, it's a little too many 3 shots, a little too fast for me. Where do you fall on that?
Oh, look, I think I would have adjusted either way. I think, look, if it's a high percentage shot, take it. You got to back yourself. And I think that if people, I love the way the game is going. I think especially the women's game, it's, it's evolving. It's so athletic, and it's just awesome to watch. It's so much fun to watch. But I think also too, it's so technical. Like the skills that the girls have, it's, the plays and the reading each other, and it's really cool to watch. So.
Going back to Seattle Storm, you mentioned, playing overseas with Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird. I think you and Sue got to Seattle about a year or so apart. What was that like? Like, what do you remember about the early Storm days playing with Sue Bird that early?
Well, it was fun. I mean, Sue and I, we didn't connect off the court early, but I think on the court we knew that there was something special. Yeah. And then I think within 6 months or so we were tied, we sort of started trusting each other and relying on each other, and we became great friends. So that was really cool. That was a great relationship. And for me, just having her around definitely was a sort of familial like a presence for me. And yeah, she sort of felt like home for a long period of my career. But Sue, as a point guard, you know, she made me better. There's no doubt about it. The way that she read the game, and then the way that she matured each season and just became this phenomenal leader. Yeah, she just, when you looked at Sue, you knew everything was going to be okay. And that was sort of how I felt with her as a teammate and as a friend as well. Like she's, even to this day, you know, if there's something going on, if I need to talk to her, or if I feel like I need a little bit of advice, I will go to her because she's just so level-headed and rational. And, you know, she's a good chick.
What was Seattle like as a city? Like I feel like we hear like Seattle's a great basketball city. The Storm won titles. The Supersonics were successful, then got moved away, and there's a lot of clamoring for them to get a team. But what do you remember about Seattle just as a basketball city?
I love Seattle. I fell in love with Seattle. It did become home for me. I think just really eclectic, really diverse. It was, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. I think a lot of the way that Seattle looked too, so the waterways and the green, and it just reminded me of Australia. So it was a bit like Melbourne and Sydney. Yeah, it did with the harbour and everything. So, and yeah, I get, like I said, it just became home for me. And then Key Arena, love that place. I mean, I still get nostalgic about it now. You know, I still have dreams about playing back there and stepping foot on the court. And yeah, it's been really weird, I think, lately because the WNBA is about to start up again.
I was going to say, the season's about to start up. Like, you got a little time. They got some new jerseys. Like, a couple minutes off the bench.
Mate, I'm playing mixed comp at the moment. And honestly, after 40 minutes of playing mixed local competition, my knees are so bad I can hardly do 2 days. So playing in the WNBA right now, oh my God. But like I said, I have been having dreams. I've been having more and more basketball dreams lately, and they're kind of haunting because you wake up and I'll wake up and I'll see my 2 kids laying on top of me, but then I have this moment where I'm like, oh my God, I miss it. Like I miss it so much. Yeah. And I think that's like the hardest part for me at the moment. So like when big things are coming up, like the Olympics or a World Championship or WNBA or anything, I definitely have a moment where I just, you know, I miss it. So
that nostalgia factor. I mentioned the Olympics. You've got 4 medals. What do you remember, like, just about the Olympic experience, or do you have any particular one or moment that stands out over your 4?
Oh, I think Sydney was very special to me because it was my first and it was at home. My dad's side of the family comes from Sydney, so you know, I spent a lot of time in Sydney growing up, and I think that I think I was too young to really understand the enormity of the situation. Like I sort of, looking back, it was just so special that I had an opportunity to play at home in something that big. And you always take everything for granted when you're a kid. So I think probably Sydney for sure.
Now, I listed a portion of your accolades internationally and here nationally. Does any like particular one stick out, like any particular one title or MVP or defensive player? Does any one stick out in your head that like you appreciate or remember more than the others?
Not really. I guess for me it was the journey. It wasn't so much the end result. It was the times that really defined my experience over in the different leagues, you know, wherever I was. So in America, you know, I had we won 2 championships, so 2004 and 2010 when I was playing, and both years I just formed some great friendships. So the 2010 team, we literally still have a WhatsApp group called the Originals. Like we're still talking. Like, so Ashley Robinson, Camille Little, Cash, Sue, Laco, Tanisha, just beautiful human beings who, again, going to be my friends for life. We talk every single day. So it's more, what stands out to me the most are those friendships that I've made. Like 2004, Cherie, Sam, Tully Bevilacqua, Adia Barnes, like amazing. Like they're the things that I think I cherish more than anything now.
I was going to add, you may have answered it there. Like when you came over to the Storm, was there anybody in particular, like any veterans or anybody that like took you under their wing has kind of just showed you the ropes. Like this is how to be a professional. These are things about this country, about this league that you need to know. Is anybody in particular that took you under your wing?
Yeah, definitely. I think in my first few years, it was Sonia Henning. She was a point guard for Seattle. She ended up coming out to visit here in Australia, visit me and the family. Just a beautiful human, solid as a rock. So she was probably my best friend, especially early on. And then Sue, definitely just as my mate. I sort of grew up over there. Cherie Sam. Cherie is someone that, you know, I'll love forever. She was just such an incredible person. And yeah, it's just so cool that we've all been able to reconnect, and that technology makes it so easy for us to be so far apart yet still have these really meaningful connections. But yeah, look, everyone, I think all of my teammates impacted me differently, but I definitely made some beautiful friendships that I'll, you know, cherish for the rest of my life.
Now, a couple things I didn't get to mention. You've done some writing, you've dabbled in like, you know, front office work and ownership. So I guess like what is next for you working with the Australian basketball team, or like just in general? What's next for Lauren Jackson?
Look, like I said before, I think it's just lifting the profile of our sport and just continuing to push the bar and finding different ways to innovate the WNBL to make sure that we're one of the best codes in Australia. You know, I think my role in the basketball community, just continuing to try and inspire this next generation of kids who want to play, who want to go over to the WNBA and compete, you know, who want to be the best in the world. I think, you know, if they can see it, they can be it, you know? So I think, yeah, it's just that, look, I really, I love my job. I love being able to work in the front office, and I'm learning stuff every single day. So who knows where that'll take me, but yeah, I just want to keep this, you know, keep the sport alive and healthy and happy. And, you know, it's fun watching what's happening in the NBA and the WNBA right now. Like Australian basketballs are really dominating, and it's cool. It's so much fun.
Yeah. I was going to ask, like, you still like a Storm fan forever when you watch WNBA? You still, I figure Sue's still playing. As long as she's still there, I figure you got to go Storm, right?
Yeah, I'm always going to be Storm, whether Sue's playing or not. I think I'm a massive Brianna Stewart fan. I absolutely like watching her play. Man, she's so good. So that I guess I'll always have that connection to that team, and I'll always be supporting him. Now that Ezzy's over there, you know, I absolutely think she's just, you know, bee's knees. Like, such a good human. I love good people, but she's such a good basketballer too. So being able to see her play in, you know, my old team, it's so cool. But yeah, I'll always be a Seattle Storm fan. Although I'm liking Dallas at the moment. I want to see how Dallas.
Okay, I was gonna say they just had like every pick in the first round, so they've got like a lot of young talent coming in.
Yeah, so I'm really interested to see how they do this year, actually. So I'm going to follow them pretty closely as well. But you know, I love seeing a lot of the athletes that I played against still balling out there and doing their thing. Like, I love it, and I think, you know, I'll forever be interested in how the WNBA is doing and who's playing and what's happening. So,
a couple more questions. Want to respect your time before we get out of here. What's something like? What would you tell? Like I mentioned, Dallas has a bunch of young players, but anybody that just got drafted in the WNBA or starting their career next year, like what would you tell them?
Just to not be afraid, just because I think that was my thing. I was really afraid. I was afraid that I wasn't be good enough. I was afraid that, you know, I was going to get eaten alive out there. I think that you got to go out there and just give it everything you got and enjoy it as well. Like, it's such a ride, but it's short-lived. Like, it doesn't last forever. So just give it everything you have while you're in it. And yeah, I think that's it. Just really enjoy it. Like, soak it up, because it's, you know, life is very different when you retire. Yeah.
One last thing before we see what viewer questions we have. Now, you were named to the Australian Basketball Hall of Fame in 2019, the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame in 2020, and now you're a candidate for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. So what would that mean to you, getting that call?
You got no idea. I don't know. I think if I got the call, it said that I got in there, I'm pretty sure I will be crying. I will be.
Oh, absolutely.
God, even thinking about it now, tears me up. But
Mm.
look, just to be where I am right now, as a finalist, it's such a massive honor. And like I said, I do feel very privileged that basketball, gave me the opportunities that it did. And, that women's basketball in particular in America had that WNBA platform as well. So, yeah, I don't know. It's the Naismith Hall of Fame is one that every athlete aspires to in basketball, and it's so prestigious, and yeah, it would mean the world.
So we'll jump to a couple questions again. We'll get you out here on time. Let's see what we have for our viewer questions. Got one from the Legends Lounge. Says, do you have any friendly wagers with Dawn Staley and Adia Barnes ahead of Tokyo, the Olympics coming up?
I don't. I'll definitely have a chat with Adia in the next month or so. I'm so happy for Adia. I think, after NCAA, how they went through the Final Four and everything that she did, it's just been incredible. So Adia, again, is one of my favorite people in the world. So I don't know. Look, I want the Aussies to win the gold, absolutely.
Of course, yeah.
But I want everyone to win. There you go.
There we go.
Terrible.
I think we got another viewer question here. One from Beefcake Colin. It says, is there a rivalry between netball players in Australia and basketball players?
I don't think so. I think that we are two completely different sports. I can tell you, though, like when I was at the AIS, when I was 15, 16, there was absolutely. There was always a rivalry.
Okay.
But I think, I'm the sort of person that just wants to see women do well in sport and get the same opportunities as what the guys are getting. So I don't think that there is a rivalry. I think that there's a bit of a movement, women supporting women at the moment. So no, I wouldn't say so. But when I was young, absolutely, I had a lot to say about those.
It's good that that's kind of I guess you get older, your viewpoints change on that.
Yeah, a lot of things change when you're not as ignorant as you once were. Yeah.
All right. One last question. Ask all our legends. And again, we thank you for joining us this morning. We're getting together our season 2 of our Legends playlist. So what music, what are you listening to either around the house, as you're dropping the kids off, after you're dropping the kids off? What's in your headphone? What playlist are you listening to now?
And I've got a fair bit. My music taste is very varied. So look, it's my 40th birthday next week, and I've put together.
Happy early birthday.
Yeah. So I've put together a playlist. So this is actually a really timely question, just about the music that's really influenced me over, the past 40 years. So, look, I was I'm a massive Tina Turner fan. I have been my whole life. She was my first sort of idol. So there's a lot of Tina on there. There's a lot of Cher.
Okay.
There's a lot of In Excess, a lot of Australian music as well. But, in the 90s, I had the biggest crush on Snoop Dogg as well. So there's a bit of, body and those sort of things on there. So it's a bit, yeah, look, I'm a weirdo. I love it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. We'll
Traveling Wilburys, random.
We'll get a nice mix on there. We can get some Snoop Dogg, some Tina Turner, some Cher. We'll throw a couple songs on there for you.
Some Aussie stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, Lauren Jackson, thank you so much for taking your time with us this morning.
Yeah, no worries, mate. It's good to chat and see everyone. Well, not see everyone, but chat.
Right. We'll talk to you soon, Lauren. Thanks again.
All right, cool. Catch ya.
All right, that'll do it for this week's Legends Live. As you know, we've got new episodes live every Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central on the NBA Alumni's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch page. I'd like to remind viewers you can watch replays of any episode at legendsofbasketball.com/legendslive. You can catch the audio replay to our conversations by searching for Legends Live wherever you get your podcast. Again, I'd like to encourage you. The deadline for the HBCU scholarship is next Friday, May 14th, next Friday. You can find more about that at legendsofbasketball.com/HBCU. I'd like to give a big thank you to Lauren for joining us at 9 in the morning there. I would like to thank you, give big thanks to Bridget, to Aaron, to Julio behind the scenes, to everybody in the chat, everybody watching, and we will see you next Thursday.